The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed under the streetlights, and I clutched my jacket tighter, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. I wasn't supposed to be here, standing outside a stranger's apartment, about to walk into a world I barely understood. But when my best friend Marcus invited me to his chosen family's gathering, I couldn't say no. Not to him, not after everything we'd been through. My name's Ethan Carter, 27. A graphic designer with a knack for overthinking and a life that's been comfortably predictable until now. Marcus, 28. A black photographer with an infectious laugh, had been my rock since college. He came out to me 3 years ago, and I thought I'd handled it well. Supportive, open-minded, the kind of friend who doesn't flinch. But standing outside this Capitol Hill apartment, I realized I was terrified. Not of Marcus or his queerness, but of stepping into a space where I might not belong. What did I, a straight guy from a small Oregon town, know about a chosen family gathering? The door swung open before I could knock, and Marcus's grin lit up the night. "Ethan, you made it," he said, pulling me into a hug. His locks brushed my cheek, and I relaxed just a little. Inside, the apartment was alive with warmth. String lights draped over exposed brick walls, the smell of fresh-baked cornbread, and laughter that felt like it could carry you away. About a dozen people mingled, their voices overlapping in a symphony of connection. I scanned the room. Men, women, non-binary folks, all ages, all races, all radiating a kind of ease I envied. Marcus introduced me to his partner, Javier, a 29-year-old Latino nurse with eyes that seemed to see right through you. Javier's handshake was firm, his smile kind but guarded. "Marcus talks about you all the time," he said, and I felt a flicker of pride mixed with unease. What had Marcus said? That I was the straight friend who got it? I wasn't so sure. The night unfolded like a dream I didn't know I needed. There was Lena, a 34-year-old black trans woman who ran a local bookstore and told stories with a voice like honey. Amir, a 25-year-old Persian-American drag performer, had everyone in stitches with his quick wit. And then there was Riley, a 30-year-old non-binary artist with a shaved head and tattoos snaking up their arms, who seemed to watch me a little too closely. I wasn't used to this, people so unapologetically themselves, their lives woven together not by blood but by choice. As the night wore on, I found myself laughing, loosening up, letting the warmth of the room seep into me. Marcus and Javier shared a quiet moment by the kitchen counter, their foreheads touching, and I felt a pang I couldn't name. Was it envy? Loneliness? I dated plenty, but I'd never had that. A connection so raw it felt like the world could stop and you wouldn't notice. Then came the moment that cracked me open. Lena stood up, glass in hand, and proposed a toast. "To family," she said, her voice steady but thick with emotion. "To the ones who choose us when the world turns its back." Everyone raised their glasses, but her eyes locked on mine. "And to Ethan, for showing up." The room cheered, but I froze. Why me? I hadn't done anything, just showed up, like she said. But the weight of her words hit me like a freight train. I wasn't just a guest here. I was being seen, maybe for the first time. The rest of the night blurred. More stories, more laughter, a few tears. I learned about Amir's estrangement from his parents after coming out, about Riley's fight to be recognized as neither man nor woman in a world that demanded boxes. Each story was a thread, weaving a tapestry of resilience I hadn't expected. By the time I stepped back into the rainy night, I felt different. Not just accepted, but changed. But I didn't know then that this was only the beginning, that the real shattering was yet to come. The next morning, I woke with a headache. Not from drinking, but from the weight of everything I'd felt. My tiny Belltown apartment felt too quiet, too small for the thoughts swirling in my head. Marcus texted me a photo from the night before. Me laughing, sandwiched between him and Javier, with Lena photobombed in the background, winking. "You're one of us now," the caption read. I stared at it, my chest tight. Was I? I met Marcus for coffee at a quirky shop in Fremont, the kind with mismatched chairs and baristas who looked like they just rolled out of an art studio. He was already there, sketching in his notebook, his camera bag slung over the chair. "So," he said, not looking up, "what did you think of last night?" I hesitated. It was intense. Good intense. Like I was part of something bigger than me. I sipped my latte, burning my tongue. "But I don't get why Lena toasted me. I didn't do anything." Marcus closed his notebook, his eyes soft but serious. "You showed up, Ethan. That's more than most straight people do. You didn't just tolerate us, you listened. That's rare." His words landed heavy, and I squirmed. I'd always thought of myself as a good ally, but was that enough? Had I been patting myself on the back for the bare minimum? He leaned forward. "There's another gathering next week. Smaller, just the core group. Javier's hosting at his place. You in?" I nodded before I could overthink it, but doubt gnawed at me. What was I signing up for? And why did I feel so drawn to it? The week passed in a blur of deadlines and late-night sketches, but my mind kept drifting back to that apartment, to the way Riley's gaze had lingered, to Lena's toast. When Saturday rolled around, I found myself at Javier's place in Queen Anne, a cozy house with a view of the Puget Sound. This time it was just Marcus, Javier, Lena, Amir, and Riley. The vibe was quieter, more intimate, like a family dinner rather than a party. We sat around a low table, candles flickering, passing plates of homemade empanadas and roasted vegetables. The conversation turned raw quickly. Amir talked about a recent gig where a heckler had thrown a bottle at him, shouting slurs. Lena shared how her family had cut her off after her transition, leaving her to rebuild from scratch. I listened, my throat tight, realizing how little I'd understood about their lives. My own struggles, dead-end jobs, a string of failed relationships, felt small in comparison. Then Riley spoke, their voice low and steady. "I don't trust easily," they said, eyes flicking to me. "When you're non-binary, people either erase you or fetishize you. But last week, Ethan, you didn't try to put me in a box. That's something." I swallowed hard, unsure how to respond. Their words felt like a gift I didn't deserve, but also a challenge. What did they see in me that I didn't? As the night deepened, Javier pulled out a guitar and played a soft melody, and Marcus leaned against him, humming along. I watched them, that pang returning. Riley caught my eye and smiled, not mocking, but knowing. "You okay, Ethan?" they asked, their voice gentle. I nodded, but I wasn't. Something inside me was shifting, and I didn't know what it meant. By the time I left, the stars were out, and Seattle's skyline glittered across the water. I walked home, the cold air biting my skin, feeling like I was teetering on the edge of something I couldn't name. I thought about Riley's smile, Lena's strength, Marcus and Javier's quiet love. And I wondered, for the first time, if I'd been wrong about who I was. Days later, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was unraveling. My sketches, usually clean and precise, turned chaotic, bold lines, fragmented shapes like my thoughts. I kept replaying Riley's words, their gaze, the way they seemed to see something in me I hadn't acknowledged. Was I just an ally, or was there more to my pull toward this group, toward them? Marcus invited me to a queer art exhibit in Pioneer Square, curated by Riley. I went, telling myself it was just support for a friend. The gallery was packed. walls covered in vibrant paintings and sculptures that screamed defiance and vulnerability. Riley stood in the center, wearing a black leather jacket, their tattoos peeking out. They spotted me and waved me over, their smile disarming. "Didn't think you'd come," they said, handing me a glass of wine. "I wouldn't miss it," I said, and meant it. We walked through the exhibit, Riley explaining their pieces. Abstract works that blended pain and hope. One painting, a swirl of blues and reds, caught my eye. "That's about my mom," they said softly. "She still calls me her daughter, even after I told her I'm neither. It's like she's mourning someone who never existed." Their voice cracked, and I wanted to reach out, to say something, but what? Instead, I asked, "How do you keep going?" It was a clumsy question, but Riley didn't flinch. "You find people who see you," they said. "Like this family. Like you." My heart stuttered. Me? I was just a guy who showed up, wasn't I? The rest of the night we talked about art, life, the weight of expectations. Riley's honesty was like a mirror, forcing me to look at myself. I'd always thought I knew who I was. Ethan, the straight guy, the supportive friend. But now, standing next to Riley, I wasn't so sure. Their presence felt electric, pulling at something deep inside me. Was it attraction, curiosity, or just the ache of wanting to belong somewhere as fiercely as they did? When the exhibit ended, Riley walked me to my car. The night was crisp, the streets quiet. "Thanks for coming, Ethan," they said, their breath visible in the cold. "It means more than you know." Before I could respond, they leaned in and hugged me. Not a quick, friendly hug, but one that lingered, warm and grounding. I hugged back, my heart racing, and when they pulled away, their eyes searched mine. "See you at the next gathering?" they asked. "Wouldn't miss it," I said, my voice barely steady. As I drove home, Seattle's lights blurring past, I felt like I was falling. Into what? I didn't know, but I knew I couldn't turn back. The next gathering was at Lena's bookstore, a cozy space crammed with books and fairy lights. The group was smaller still, just me, Marcus, Javier, Lena, and Riley. We sat in a circle, sharing stories, but the mood was heavier. Lena talked about a recent hate crime in the neighborhood, a gay couple attacked just blocks away. "It's like the world's reminding us we're not safe," she said, her voice trembling. Marcus reached for Javier's hand, and I saw fear in their eyes. Fear I'd never had to feel. Riley turned to me. "What about you, Ethan? Ever been afraid to be yourself?" The question hit like a punch. I thought about my small-town upbringing, the pressure to fit in, to be the good son. But it wasn't the same. "Not like you," I admitted. "I've never had to fight for who I am." The room was quiet, but their nods felt like acceptance, not judgment. As we left, Riley walked with me. "You're not like most straight guys," they said, their tone teasing but warm. "You don't just listen. You feel it." I wanted to ask what they meant, but my phone buzzed. My mom, asking when I'd visit. The normalcy of it felt jarring, like a reminder of the world I'd always known. But as I looked at Riley, I realized I didn't want to go back to that world. Not entirely. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I threw myself into work, but my thoughts kept drifting to Riley, to the family, to the way they'd made me question everything. I started noticing things I'd ignored before. The way I lingered on Riley's texts, the way my heart raced when they smiled. I'd never questioned my sexuality, but now it felt like a door I'd never opened was creaking ajar. Marcus noticed. We were grabbing beers at a dive bar in Ballard when he said, "You've been different since the gatherings. What's up?" I froze, my glass halfway to my mouth. Just processing, I said, but it felt like a lie. He raised an eyebrow but didn't push. Instead, he invited me to the next gathering, a picnic at Gasworks Park. Bring your sketchbook, he said. Riley's been asking about your art. The picnic was on a rare sunny day, the Seattle skyline sparkling across Lake Union. The group sprawled on blankets, sharing food and stories. Riley sat next to me, their knee brushing mine, and I felt that electric pull again. They asked to see my sketches, and I handed over my book, nervous. They flipped through it, pausing at a chaotic drawing from the week before. This is raw, they said, like you're trying to figure something out. I nodded, unable to speak. They got it. Me, my mess, everything. As the sun set, the group played music, and Javier and Marcus danced, laughing like kids. Riley and I stayed on the blanket, talking about everything and nothing. Then they said, I like you, Ethan, not just as a friend. My breath caught. I'd suspected, maybe even hoped, but hearing it was like a spark igniting. I think I like you too, I said, the words foreign but true. Their smile was radiant, but there was caution in their eyes. This isn't easy, you know, they said. Being with someone like me, it's a lot. I know, I said, though I didn't, not really, but I wanted to try. We sat there, hands brushing, the world fading away. It was the most honest moment of my life. But reality crashed in the next day. My parents called, asking me to visit for my dad's birthday. I hadn't told them about the gatherings, about Riley, about the questions I was wrestling with. How could I? They were good people, but they'd raised me in a world where different was whispered about, not celebrated. I agreed to go, but dread settled in my chest. The visit was a disaster. My dad, a gruff mechanic in his 60s, made a passing comment about those people in the news, and I snapped. They're not those people, Dad. They're my friends. The room went silent. My mom tried to smooth it over, but I saw the confusion in their eyes. I left early, driving back to Seattle with my hands shaking on the wheel. I'd always been their golden boy, but now I felt like a stranger. I called Riley that night, spilling everything. They listened, then said, You don't have to choose between them and us, Ethan. But you do have to choose who you want to be. Their words cut deep, because I didn't know. Was I ready to upend my life, to face the world's judgment? For a truth I was only beginning to understand? The final gathering was at Marcus and Javier's rooftop, the same one I'd imagined in that golden hour moment. It was a celebration. Lena's bookstore had won a community award, and the air was thick with joy. But I was a mess. Riley and I had been texting, meeting for coffee, even holding hands once, but I hadn't named what we were. I was still grappling with what it meant to feel this way about someone who didn't fit into the life I'd known. The rooftop was strung with lights, music playing softly as the group danced and laughed. Riley found me by the edge, looking out at the city. You're quiet tonight, they said, their voice gentle. I took a deep breath. I'm scared, I admitted. I've never felt like this before. Not just about you, about everything. Who I am, who I want to be. Riley's eyes softened. That's the hardest part, they said. Figuring out who you are when the world wants you to be someone else. They reached for my hand, and I let them take it. For the first time, I didn't pull away. The night took a darker turn when Amir got a call. Another hate crime, this time closer to home. A trans friend had been attacked, and the group's joy turned to fear, then resolve. Lena stood, her voice fierce. We keep going, she said. We love harder, live louder, because that's how we win. Her words burned into me. I thought about my parents, my old life, the safety of staying quiet, and I realized I didn't want that anymore. I turned to Riley. "I want this," I said, my voice shaking. "I want you. I want to be part of this family." Their smile was like sunlight, but they warned me, "It's not easy, Ethan. The world's not kind to people like us." I nodded. "I know, but I'm ready to try." We joined the others, dancing under the stars, and for the first time, I felt like I belonged. Not as an ally, but as someone finding his truth. Marcus caught my eye, grinning like he'd known all along. Javier squeezed my shoulder, and Lena whispered, "Welcome home." Months later, I'm still learning. Riley and I are taking it slow, navigating what it means to love across lines of identity. My parents don't fully understand, but they're trying, and that's enough for now. The gatherings continue, each one a reminder that family isn't just blood. It's the people who see you, choose you, and fight for you. I joined Marcus's gay family gathering expecting to be a guest. What happened next shattered my old self and built a new one, piece by painful, beautiful piece.